There are people in this world who talk about greatness, and then there are people who simply become it, quietly, steadily, without ever asking for applause. In a small village nestled between two slow-moving rivers in the heart of Rajasthan, there lived a potter named Govind. His hands were rough like river bark, his knees permanently dusted with red clay. He woke before the roosters each morning and fell asleep long after the lamps flickered out. Govind was a patient man, a skilled man, but inside him lived a shadow that many carry without knowing its name, the shadow of unspoken pride. He believed, deeply and quietly, that his work spoke for itself, and so he never felt the need to speak at all. He had a neighbor. His name was Rajan. Rajan was also a craftsman, a weaver by trade, but Rajan had the gift of words, smooth, confident, warm words that fell from his lips like honey from a tilted jar. At the weekly market, Rajan would position himself at the front, arms wide, smiling broadly, telling stories of his fabric. "Feel this," he would say to passers-by. 3 generations of tradition woven into every thread. People would stop, they would touch, they would buy, and then they would leave, clutching their purchases like treasures. Govind would sit quietly behind his row of pots, perfect pots, pots that held water without weeping a single drop, pots with curves so even they seemed to have been shaped by the river itself. But Govind said nothing. He watched Rajan's growing crowd. He felt the quiet sting of comparison, and still he said nothing. He thought to himself, "My work is honest, anyone with eyes can see that." But he did not realize that most people walk through life with their eyes half closed, drawn not by what is beautiful, but by what is loud. Years passed like monsoon clouds, heavy, quiet, and inevitable. Rajan's business grew, not because his fatsa brick was the finest in the region. It wasn't. 3 weavers in the district produced cloth of equal or better quality, but Rajan's story grew with his business. He hired 2 young men to help him. He opened a second stall in the neighboring town. He laughed often, spoke warmly, and left every customer feeling as though they had received a gift, not simply made a purchase. Govind's shop remained the same, quiet, proud, slowly shrinking. The seasons changed one after another, and what had once been steady became uncertain. Govind's eldest son, Arjun, returned from the city one summer to find his father thinner than he remembered, the lines around his eyes deeper. The courtyard, once full of pots stacked high and proud, now held only a handful of finished pieces. "Father," Arjun said one evening as they sat beneath the old peepal tree, "your pots are the finest I have seen anywhere. I have been to the big shops in the city. I have seen what they sell. None of it compares to yours. So tell me, why does no one know your name?" Govind was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "My work speaks for itself." Arjun looked at his father gently, without judgment, the way the young sometimes see what the old have stopped looking for. He said, "Father, perhaps it speaks, but does anyone hear it?" That question sat between them like a stone dropped into still water, the ripple spreading slowly, reaching every quiet shore inside Govind's chest. He was tired. He was proud, but he was no longer certain. The next market morning, something small shifted in Govind. He rose at the same hour, shaped the same careful clay, carried his pots to the same spot. But this time, when a young woman paused to glance at his work, Govind did not simply wait. He said softly, "This one I made for keeping, not for showing. If you fill it with water at sunrise and leave it in the shade, you'll find it cool by afternoon without a single drop lost." The woman looked up. She smiled. She bought too. By noon, Govind had sold more than he had in the past 3 weeks combined. Not because his pots had changed. They had not. The clay was the same. The skill was the same. The patience was the same. What changed was the bridge. The small, warm human bridge between the thing he made and the person who needed it. This, you see, is what the river understands that the pond does not. A river does not wait for the field to come to it. The river moves. It carves new paths through stone and soil. It introduces itself to every root, every seed, every cracked and thirsty earth it passes through. The pond, though full and clean and capable of nourishing, simply sits. And slowly, over seasons, the pond grows smaller, not because it lacked value, but because it waited for the world to come to it. This ancient truth lives not just in Govind's village. It lives in every workshop, every office, every home where someone believes that doing good work is enough. In our modern world, where attention is scarce and noise is everywhere, silent excellence, no matter how real, often goes unheard. So let these lessons settle into you today. First, understand that your actions are the foundation, but your words are the door. A house built on stone still needs an entrance. The quality of your work earns the right to speak, but you must still choose to speak it. Confidence is not arrogance. Sharing what you have made is not boasting. It is an act of service to those who need what only you can offer. Second, recognize that humility and visibility are not opposites. Govind believed that speaking about his work would somehow diminish it. But the truest humility is not silence. It is honesty, and it is honest to say, I made this with care, and it is worth your attention. Third, remember that your story is part of your craft. Rajan did not simply sell fabric. He gave people a reason to care. The story behind the thing is often what transforms a transaction into a memory, a customer into a believer. Fourth, know that waiting for the world to discover you is a quiet form of pride. The world is busy. It is not unkind, it is simply full. The burden of being found rests not on the world, but on the one who wishes to be known. And finally, perhaps most importantly, begin where you are. Govind did not reinvent himself. He did not abandon his craft or become someone he was not. He simply added a single sentence to each encounter. One sentence, and that one sentence changed everything. Your actions build the temple, your words open the gates. Do not wait in the dark and wonder why no one has come to worship. Light a lamp, open the door, let the world see what your hands have made and what your heart has poured into it. Because the world is not ignoring you, it simply hasn't heard you yet.